So, congratulations to your film.
Thank you.
It looks pretty much like a long-term commitment. So, did you expect that right in the beginning when you started with this project?
No, I didn't. It was I sort of it was a sort of work in progress. I started doing documentation for television, for which I was shooting almost 1 year, and that was at the beginning the project. Then I saw there was more in it, and 1 year later there was another television documentary that I did for half an hour, which was a kind of update of the first one. And when this finished, I had been shooting for 2 years already. And then I realized that the story was really getting strong now. So that I had the feeling that I really had to go on documenting this. And at that point, I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the interest of television broadcaster, but I went on shooting with the team that agreed to do it for free, because they also thought the project was very important. And that's why we went on. And at a certain point, the producer said, okay, yes, there is really a story here for a cinema movie, so let's try it. And then we got the funds from the film funding, and we got the broadcaster, and at the end there was this big project, and we were filming for 3.5 years all in all.
So how did you get the broadcaster on board? Was it difficult to find a commissioning editor who's willing to do it?
It was always a bit difficult, yes. At the very beginning, I didn't find any commissioner that thought that coal would be an actual topic. I'm talking about 2015. They all said, well, this coal topic is old. We have been talking about it for decades, and now it's dead. And I said, no, now the topic is getting very actual because of climate change, and the whole discussion on fossil fuels is getting very strong everywhere. And we have here in our region the biggest CO2 emittent in Europe. So this is really actual, and it's really a story. So also at the beginning, I started shooting by myself, like with money from friends who wanted to help me, and then it became more of a topic because there were like illegal demonstrations in the mines. So which are very at the beginning of the film, and this came in the news, and then the broadcaster said, oh, well, maybe a topic, and so came the first movie that we did. But every time it was to do the long film, it also took some convincing, but at a certain point they saw, okay, this is getting a really big movement, and Hambach Forest was getting this, that was becoming this symbol, not only in the region, but in whole Germany and in Europe, and they saw this, and then they said, okay, yeah, let's do it. So yes, it wasn't. It was a bit of a difficult way. It wasn't a straight way to say we're going to do this film and it's going to take a long time. We just went on with what we had at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not a pleasant topic, and not a very welcome topic for a lot of people. Mm. And so, were you free to in editing, or did the commissioning editor try to get some influence on how the stories should be told?
I was quite free, but there was a discussion. So there was, for example, a lot of discussion about the one protagonist that is living in a village, Emirat, which is being evicted, and he's with his family. He's quite alone there at this moment. The film begins. It's a kind of passive resistance that he's doing. He doesn't want to sell his house. So for me, this was a very strong character and a very strong story, and it wasn't easy to get him, because he was so tired of the whole thing that it was difficult to film with him, and we only had some days. But anyway, I think it's one of the most important parts of the film. And yeah, the commissioner didn't want that, or didn't think it was interested. They wanted a film that concentrated on Hambach Forest. And for me, Hambach Forest was never this topic for itself. It's always the combination of these different ways of resistance in the region that were important to me. And Hambach Forest was the one where it all became I don't know, escalated more, or became more strong. But without all these other kinds of resistance, it wouldn't have been possible. And I think this aspect of the villages is very important. But I had to fight for it, because they weren't very eager to have it.
Yeah. I'm happy you succeeded in getting character to the film, because I appreciate it. Yeah. So was it in general? Was it difficult to get access to your characters? How did you find them?
Well, it was not difficult to find them, but maybe it was not very easy to convince them from the beginning that they should participate. For example, this man in the village, he wanted to participate, but on the other side, it was very painful for him. So every time that we were shooting, he said, well, this is the last time. And then I said, can we come for another day? Well, yes, one day, but then it's finished, and so on, because it was really painful for him every time to explain the same things. And he actually wanted to finish that, but he couldn't, because he couldn't give up. So this one was a bit difficult. And then the people in the forest, they agreed, or Clumsy and other people that I was filming, but that are not that much in the film. And at the end, they agreed, but there were always restrictions, like we couldn't film when other activists were there. So for a long time, it looks like if Clumsy is alone living there. And of course, it wasn't like that. There were not many people. It was a very little movement at the beginning, but there were more people, and we weren't allowed to film them because they didn't want to be filmed, most of the activists, especially at the beginning. And they were not very confident on television and media. So this changed with time, because first they knew us more. We were there a lot of time, so they had more confidence. And and also because they realized at a certain points that it wasn't that bad to have the media there, because it was a kind of protection also for them. And it was at a certain point they realized that it was good for the movement, because many people were getting to know it. So that changed.
Yeah.
With the other two, it was easy. There was no problem to get to them.
Yeah, especially in the Oak Village, I could imagine it could have been difficult to.
Yes, it was a long process, but yes, at the end it was easy to film with other people too. Easier.
Mm-hmm. Were they did they trust you? Did Clumsy trust you? So there's one scene where you've been behind the police line. So one question would be, how did you manage to get there? And the other question is if the others were confident about your serious approach from their point of view.
Well, that's two questions. Which scene do you mean with the police line? Which one?
Where the people try to get up a hill, where the police built a row and pushed the people down from that hill and said, step back. And so you've been behind the policeman?
Yes, that was actually no problem at all, because there were other media as well, and there were many people filming, and police was acting as if there were no media. We were just moving, and sometimes they pushed us back, and then we came back, and so on. This worked. Mostly it worked quite well. Sometimes it wasn't easy to go from the one side of the police line to the other, but we mostly managed to do that. Well, also because police and activists are busy with other things than caring about media in that moment. So if they trusted me, I think they did. I think there was more and more trust with the time that I spent there, and that at a certain point, they people that knew me in the forest and in the village, they definitely trusted me that I was being serious and well, I was always explaining. I tried always to explain what I was going for and what I was doing. So I was being very honest, and I think that they knew that. Yeah.
Did you choose? So you've chosen 4 characters altogether, 4 main characters. Did you have only these 4 characters when you started filming, or how did you come up with a solution to focus on these 4 guys?
I had more. I had more characters. There are many interesting people in this movement, and it wasn't easy to decide. There was a girl in the forest which I had been filming with from the beginning also, and I thought she was great. She was also a great character, and she is in the television films that I made. She has a presence. She's a protagonist there, but she was arrested at a certain point. So for a long time, she was in prison, and she
because because her presence in the forest.
Yeah. Many people get arrested there because there is always trouble with the police, and then something happens and they arrest someone. I don't know exactly what was the reason in her case, but she was one kind of leader there. So arresting her was a good move to get someone important out of the forest. Yeah. And then she wasn't allowed to get back, so she was gone, and that was kind of the reason why she wasn't part of the movie anymore. And also at a certain point, I realized that it was better to concentrate on one person, because we already had in one person from the forest, which was clumsy, because we had also a wide range of people acting, and not only the protagonist, but there are other people that always appear, because all these groups have like supporters and friends. So it was important to focus a bit, so not to get lost completely in this wide range of people. And there were a couple of older people, which are Christians, Catholics, which are very active from the point of view of Christians wanting to protect the planet. And they were great also, and they play a role in one of the television movies. But at the end, we had to decide that they wouldn't. They appear a bit in the film, but that they wouldn't be protagonists, because it was already too many people.
Yeah. So how much footage did you collect during these 3.5 years?
I forgot. I counted the hours sometimes. I think it was like 150. So it wasn't as much as one could think. You could have more in all this time. This is because I used to shoot. I always knew when I was shooting that we had not much money, and that we had to be very careful about what we shoot and what not. So I didn't shoot all the time. So often I was there and I didn't shoot, and I really was thinking, what do we need now? But of course, we had a lot more than we could use. Yes.
How often have you been to the forest? Did you go there incidentally, or did they call you and tell you, hey, here's something going on? Or how did you
both? At the beginning, I went a lot just to meet the people, and that they met me. But it wasn't always easy to appear there without having an appointment, because they were always busy, and you never knew who was there and who wasn't, and it's quite big, and you maybe don't find the people. So at a certain point, they started calling me when something happened. especially when police came or an eviction was announced, or they thought there would be an eviction. They called me, and at the end of these years, there were many people calling me from different, not only people from the forest, but people from the villages who had heard something about a political decision to evict or so. So I got lots of calls, and I went there quite a lot, but not all the time. We are talking about 4 years. So there also were periods where I wasn't there at all because I was doing other projects to earn money and so on. So this was quite irregular also. Yeah.
That would have been another question. So how could you manage to make this long-term commitment? It's so such kind of films is not very well paid, and
no.
If they call you, you can't rush and run into the forest because you might have another job.
Yeah, I had a lot of jobs in this time, so I really had a lot of jobs, and I was doing other films. But doing these 2 television films first helped because I got some money from there, and then I had a job in an office for 2 days a week, for example. So that was difficult because things used to happen on the days that I had the commitment for the office. So it was not easy always to organize, and I was doing other films in other topics. So yes, I always had the feeling I should be there, and I'm not. So that happened a lot. On the other hand, it's really close to my home, so it's 40 minutes per car, so I could always drive there for like 2 hours and see what happened. And at the end, you never need as much as you think, as much material as you think. At the end of when the big eviction came, which is also quite at the end of the movie, there it was very important to be there a lot, and I spent just a week with the cameraman, almost there every day. And yeah, and at that point we had no money also anyway, because we had spent it all. So we just went, the 2 of us, and I was doing the sound. And we spent a lot of time because you never knew when something was going to happen. So that time I had to be there. And the other times was a bit of luck sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said in the beginning you were filming yourself, and then with a regular crew with 3 people, and then at the end with just the camera guy and yourself.
Well, at the beginning, some friends gave me money, and I hired a regular crew for the first shootings because there was no broadcaster. So then the broadcaster came. Then we shoot regularly. Then. There was no broadcast anymore, so I asked the crew to do me a favor, and so on. It was always different, and sometimes I shoot it myself. For example, the destruction of this church in the village, I shot it myself because this was very short notice, and no one of my people were there, so I had to go. And there was also no money, so I took a little video camera and filmed that. So sometimes it was just like that, and sometimes I did the sound because also we had it was not a low. It wasn't a low budget, but it wasn't the budget that we needed for the film. So we had to do quite a bit of improvising there. Yes.
Did your characters see the movie?
Yes, they saw it. That was very exciting because the movie has had its premiere in the film festival in Munich, DocFest, which was great last year. And the most of them, the 3 of the 4 main characters came to the premiere. So this was for me really, I was very nervous because I didn't know how they would like the film. So we sat all there and they were watching it, and I was thinking, well, I hope they like it. And for them, it was really emotional because we saw the film in May 2019, and all this story was half a year passed, and they didn't have had time to process the whole thing, and they sat there and they saw like the last 4 years of their lives going like this in front of them, and they all said they were crying a lot, and they said it had been really emotional. So, but they loved it. So I was very glad. Yes, but they were also. It was a bit too much, I think, for them the first time they saw it. So yeah. Because it's also at the end of the film, there is also this story about the journalist that died while he was filming, and it was a befriended journalist who had been living there for a while, and this was like the thing that no one wanted to happen. They were always saying, all these years we were filming, and for example, Antje Grote's one protagonist was always saying, we don't want anyone to get harmed, and we will do anything it's needed to avoid that. And then it happened, and it was for people there. It was really a catastrophe that this person died. And when they saw also this a year after, they were really emotional about that.
Yeah, I can imagine. So in general, what is for you, from your point of view, what's the purpose of filmmaking?
Well, that's a question. Well, I cannot say what the purpose of filmmaking in general is. For me, the purpose of my filmmaking is to get people to think, and I think when I see things that I think are not known for general public, I think it's very important to. For example, in this case, I think it's a big scandal what happened there. So I need to show it. For me, it's like I need people to know that. And many people also in Germany didn't know about the whole story and what happened behind. There was a lot of press about activists being aggressive and violent. And that was mostly it, what people knew about Hambach Forest. And I really want to show what's behind this first impression. And for me, that's a very important part of filmmaking. And I also want people to like wake up and see what's possible. I think I concentrate more on showing what possibilities there are to change things that need to be changed than to show the bad parts of it. So for me, because for me it's motivating to see people fighting for their rights or fighting for climate, and I really want to show that to other people. So I think this kind of film is very motivating for other people because they see what's possible. And with my filmmaking, I really want people to think about their choices or what they could do or what they could change. For like a better society. So that's what drives me.
How do you deal with the issue that you usually reach only an audience with a similar mindset? So your film is 2 hours long. You must be willing to confront yourself with the topic, and well, the film is great. So I wasn't bored. I was interested. I liked to watch it, but because I'm interested in the topic right from the beginning, how can filmmakers deal with this problem that you have to make films about important issues, but you have to find access somehow? So did you, for example, I don't know, you said you made shorter films for television, maybe that's a solution. But did you think about editing a shorter version, for example? Or so how do you deal with that?
There is a shorter version for television. It's 90 minutes. That's one point that the broadcaster wanted 90 minutes. They didn't want the 2-hour version. And I really wanted this version because once in my life, I wanted to do a film that is like I really wanted to be. So, and I thought for this story, it was important to have it like that. And the shorter version is good, but some things are missing. So people that have seen the two versions say that always. But there is this possibility, and many people have only seen the short version on television. I think that television is a good way of showing these movies to broader public, but these movies tend to be shown at like 11 o'clock at night, or so not many people watch television or watch documentaries at that time, not political documentaries. So yeah, this is always difficult. I had the hope that this film was going to achieve a greater public, but it didn't. Sometimes it's shown it has been shown in other towns and so on. And some people came who had no idea about the topic at all. So that was great, because that was the public that I really wanted to reach. That was people who said we had no idea what happened there. So, but I had wished that it was more, and I really don't have the answer to this question, unfortunately.
I think nobody has.
No, probably not.
Yeah. Maybe there's another unwanted opportunity to screen your films because the story isn't finished. So yesterday, so in the beginning of October, I've read in the newspaper there are 5 more villages to be left by the inhabitants. Yeah. Yes,
exactly. I'm trying to do a film about this now. So about these 5 villages and the inhabitants and don't want to live. And they were inspired of this movement in Hamburg Forest and of the success it had. And they said, well, now we are going to fight the mine here because we don't want to leave our villages and our houses for a very old-fashioned energy, which is doing damage to the planet. So they are going to court and to the highest court in Germany. And I think this will be quite a story. And I hope that I can follow that for television first, and later do a long-term observation, maybe, if I find the interest of the broadcasters. Yeah. We will see.
Yeah. So, well, I think thank you for the film.
Thank you
for the chat, and good luck with the jury. I hope you find it good jury that will fit your work.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wish everyone who watches the film a very interesting time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.